The wait is finally over and Capcom is absolutely coming in swinging with all this new information. We just wrapped up the massive January 15th Resident Evil Requiem showcase. We finally got our confirmed release date of February 27th, 2026. And a ton more information besides. We searched through every frame of the 13-minute presentation, analysed the Japanese press releases, and cross-referenced the new gameplay with the lore reveals. So here are 20 insane things you missed in the Resident Evil Requiem showcase.
You're the one that I've been searching for. The special one. The chosen one. Miss Ashcroft.
Why is that zombie still working? In the trailers, we see different zombie types moving around mimicking their behaviours from their past life, such as a janitor zombie continuing to mop the floors. Director Koshi Nakanishi explained that the infected in Requiem retain habitual behaviours from their former lives. Unlike the sprinting and raging ganados of RE4, or the typical mindless zombies of RE2, the victims here are trapped in a mental loop of their final human moments. That custodian isn't wandering around aimlessly, he's reliving his job. This adds a twisted layer to the strategy of the gameplay. If you observe a zombie's routine, you can predict their movement patterns and sneak past them. Disturbing their routines will snap them out of this trance and trigger an immediate aggressive state. What makes Elpis so messed up? If you thought the mold from Resident Evil 7 was very gross, the new Elpis pathogen appears to take cues from Halo's The Flood. In the CNET demo, the writer encountered a huge animal and human hybrid monster that didn't just look like a mutated creature, it looked like a biological mash of many creatures writhing together. This aligns with the theories surrounding Elpis. The virus doesn't just reanimate dead tissue, it seems to actively rewrite the host's biology, merging them with other creatures to create these chimera forms. The horror here isn't just being eaten or infected, it's about the total loss of human form while the mind seemingly stays trapped inside. What's up with these twisted hybrids? While the new zombies are unnerving, they aren't the only enemies shown. The CNET preview details a confrontation with a huge animal and human hybrid monster. This creature isn't just a mutated human, it has a massive beast-like claw and a jaw designed for tearing flesh, demonstrated when it brutally devours a corpse in front of you. These chimeras add to the Elpis theory that these mutagens can mash together different animals and creatures into horrifying hybrids. They aren't just scary, they're also lethal. In the demo, getting grabbed results in the beast taking a massive chunk out of Grace's shoulder. You can only withstand one of these attacks before the second one kills you. Who tried to burn this place clean? We are back in Raccoon City, but specifically in the wake of nuclear destruction wreaked by the US government. The report highlights that this isn't just nostalgia bait, it establishes a tone of desolation. The city was supposed to be vaporized to clean up the zombie plague after Resident Evil 3, but here we are, exploring standing structures like the hospital. But if the nuke was meant to wipe Raccoon City off the map, then why is there anything left to explore? It seems that the government's cleansing was either botched or insufficient, leaving behind a wasteland that might be hiding secrets that survived the blast. What, or rather who, has been operating in the ashes since 1998? Is Leon hiding something under that glove? Speculation. Theory crafters have zeroed in on Leon's gloves as a potential narrative clue. The theory posits that Leon is hiding an early stage Elpis infection, and the gloves are there to conceal blackened veins or corruption, similar to Ethan Winter's hands in RE7 and Village. On top of that, the game's director stated that Leon has a big secret and that Elpis is involved in it, considering that protagonists have been infected before in previous games, like Jill in RE3 and Leon in RE4. This theory is highly plausible. To be clear, this is just a fan theory, and so far, we have no concrete evidence of it. This is just speculation on what Leon's secret is, and why he's wearing full gloves. How tired is Leon, really? We've seen Leon Kennedy go from a rookie cop to a government super agent, but Requiem is presenting a version of Leon we haven't quite seen before, the Ikioji, cool older guy. According to director Koshi Nakanishi, the Leon we play here is roughly 51 years old, with a weather-beaten disposition, stubble beard, and a somber demeanour that's a far cry from the quippy action hero of RE4. It's not just an aesthetic choice, it's character development. Nakanishi notes that Leon brings the dry wit and subtle sarcasm that only an older guy can bring. He has been fighting bioterrorism for nearly 30 years since Raccoon City, and the game leans heavily into his weariness. So, who exactly is Grace? Grace Ashcroft is not your typical STARS operative. She's an FBI technical analyst who's an office worker rather than a field agent. The preview material describes her as introverted and someone who immerses herself in work to cope with trauma. specifically the murder of her mother, Alyssa Ashcroft, 8 years prior. This background dictates her gameplay. Unlike Leon, the action hero, Grace is clinical and vulnerable. She starts the game with limited capacity and resources, embodying the survival horror core of Resident Evil. Although she starts the game weaponless and hiding from enemies, she does eventually get the Requiem revolver, a pinch hitter super weapon that can take down nearly any enemy in one shot. What happens when Grace and Leon see the same horror differently? Director Koshi Nakanishi calls it playing two different games. We know from the showcase that the game is split roughly 50-50 between Grace and Leon. Grace's sections are designed as pure survival horror, where resources are scarce. Music is absent to heighten the dread, and enemies are powerful obstacles to be avoided conversely. Leon's gameplay is the thrilling action iconic to him, complete with suplexes, chainsaw parries, and an arsenal of weapons. So, imagine Grace spending an hour terrified of a zombie, only for the perspective to switch to Leon, who treats that same enemy as just another target to be roundhouse kicked. This dual structure creates a deliberate cycle of tension and release. Is the Renwood Hotel the new mansion? Requiem seems to be returning to the claustrophobic puzzle box design of the original Spencer mansion, centered entirely on the Renwood Hotel. Just like the mansion, it's not just a level, but a dense interconnecting hub, filled with locked doors, strange insignias, and a history intertwined with the Elpis plague. The hotel is where Grace's mother, Alyssa Ashcroft, was murdered 8 years prior. The hotel is very The Shining coded, with a distinct lack of shattered windows or looting, suggests the hotel has been preserved rather than abandoned, so whatever and whoever is hiding inside the hotel has been maintaining and protecting it. Why a smaller cast might make this scarier? The preview emphasises that this is a personal story driven by Grace's quest for answers about her mother. By focusing almost exclusively on just two leads, Grace and Leon, Capcom is stripping away the scale of massive military operations and supporting squads. In Village, Ethan had Chris Redfield and his Hound Wolf squad operating in the background. Here, Grace and Leon seem to be completely isolated. The preview describes an experience that channels the helplessness of early RE7. Why the darkness suddenly feels dangerous again. The lighting engine in this game isn't just here for pure aesthetics or graphics, but acts as an additional survival horror mechanic. The darkness isn't just a dimming of the global illumination, it's an oppressive pitch black that could hide threats and scares. The player should feel like entering an unlit room is extremely dangerous. Unlike recent titles where you might have a tactical flashlight or night vision, Grace's primary tool for a large portion of the demo is a simple, flickering lighter. This severely limits your field of view to just a few feet in front of you, forcing you to get uncomfortably close to things to see them. You also have to turn off your light and hide in the darkness to avoid monsters who are chasing you. Does the combat secretly borrow from the remakes? According to the CNET hands-on, Grace's gameplay is a direct spiritual successor to the survivalist tension of the Resident Evil 2 remake, with a highlight on the distinct lack of power, at least before receiving the Requiem revolver, and requiring stealth and environmental defense. On the other hand, the showcase confirmed that Leon's combat is an evolution of the Resident Evil 4 remake. He retains the ability to target specific body parts to open up melee opportunities, but this time the easily broken knives have been replaced by a more durable tomahawk. Requiem is building upon the two new systems they developed at the same time. How much are you going to sweat over resources? The CNET preview makes it abundantly clear that resource scarcity is back, especially in Grace's segments. The writer noted that throughout the entire demo they found an empty throwable bottle, and more importantly, a lighter, so no bullets or other support items. It would appear you aren't managing your inventory, choosing what to keep and what to drop, but rather scraping by and desperately searching for whatever can be useful. The demo featured exactly a single health pickup, emphasising the survival half of survival horror. So, using consumable or throwable items becomes a paralysing tactical decision, whether it's necessary to use it now, or if it should be safe for a tougher situation in the future. Why some shots feel like old school RE on purpose. One of the most praised features in the showcase was the confirmation that players can toggle between first person and third person perspectives. The first person is exactly like how it is in RE7 and Village, but the third person camera seems to be especially designed to mimic the style of the classic RE games. The footage of Grace navigating the Renwood Hotel shows the camera huddled tight against her shoulder, and the corridors appear deliberately narrow. This restriction of the peripheral vision recreates the blind corner design that defined the horror of the original Resident Evils. It also forces you to keep an ear out so you can hear if a threat is waiting around a corner. Is there a new puppet master behind all this? Speculation. Every Resident Evil game has a puppet master villain, whether it's Umbrella, the Connections, or the Family. Who that is in Requiem has remained extremely vague. However, analysing footage, we spotted a recurring figure, a suit-wearing man potentially named Victor Gideon. With how Elpis is the Greek word for hope and the references to Pandora's box, it suggests a group with messianic or ideological motivations. Given it takes place in a cleansed Raccoon City ruins, the group might actually be a faction within the US government, trying to take advantage of the infection for the greater good. Where does Requiem actually sit in the RE timeline? With all the spin-offs and time jumps, the Resident Evil timeline can be a nightmare. However, Capcom has been surprisingly clear about Requiem's placement. The game is set in 2025, placing it firmly after the events of Village and Shadow of Rose. This means it's the most current entry in the modern timeline. This means Grace's investigation of the incident 8 years prior is set in 2017. In RE7's time, it also means it's been 27 years since the first outbreak, and subsequent nuking of Raccoon City in 1998, giving plenty of time for the ruins to settle, and perhaps even some rebuilding. While the sound design might mess with your head, it's not just the visuals that are impressive, but the audio design has taken a leap forward. Similar to how they turned lighting into a game mechanic, they did the same with sound design. In one instance in the CNET preview, the player is forced to move an unfortunately noisy rolling cart to reach a key item. The screech of the wheels immediately alerts the stalking creature, causing it to move rapidly towards the sound, ratcheting up the tension of grabbing and running out with the item. You have to pay attention not just for enemies, but your own noises as well. The sudden ramp from oppressive quiet to the loud chase of being spotted is an auditory shock. Does Requiem start like a detective story and end like a nightmare? The CNET preview describes the early portion of Grace's section as a methodical, almost investigative experience. You're searching through rooms and solving puzzles, befitting Grace's FBI background, and it's reminiscent of RE2 to me. But then you'll hit the pivot point where it shifts into a high-octane nightmare fight when the hybrid chimeras come in. The gameplay goes from slow, deliberate stealth and puzzle solving to frantic survival chasing, then into Leon's action-adventure combat style. This creates a tension and release cycle that keeps both sides of the coin in balance and fresh. It sounds like master design, distilled from decades of making Resident Evil games. Why pausing the trailer might be your best friend. Speculation. If you watch the trailer at normal speed, you've likely missed half the hints in it. The real narrative of Requiem seems to be hidden in the single frames that flash by. People have been scrubbing through every frame in the trailer to spot clues. The biggest find so far involves a split-second shot of a body lying next to Leon. People have literally analysed the chin shapes to determine if this corpse is the new villain, Victor Gideon, or if it's a decoy meant to fake Leon's death. Also, for only a couple of frames, you can see a massive fresh wound on Leon's neck, creating a theory that he was bitten by the Hag creature early in the game. Could this be the next modern classic RE? Resident Evil has struggled between its survival horror core and the action blockbuster that sells millions. Requiem seems to be the first game that incorporates both aspects at the same time. The dual campaign system promises both survival horror from Grace and cinematic action from Leon. CNET explicitly described the demo as both extremely messed up and also cinematic, noting that it builds a ton of anticipation. If Capcom can pull off this balancing act, then Requiem would be the definitive modern classic Resident Evil. From what we've seen, it feels like a culmination of everything the studio has learned and built up over the last decade. Whether you're looking forward to playing as Leon again and swinging a chainsaw around while doing roundhouse kicks, or you're looking forward to the new age of survival horror that RE7 invented and Grace brings to the table, Requiem is looking to be a definitive entry into the franchise. I personally can't wait to get my hands on it when it drops on February 27th, 2026. Thanks for watching.